Hello, everyone. It is Dr. Messina Morris, also known as Dr. Mom or Molder of Minds. And I am coming to you live this Friday to talk about the most amazing week that I've had. So, this is my Beyond ReAIlity or Beyond ReAIlity um, conversation that I want to have with my audience. So, for those of you that don't know me, most people do call me Dr. Mom, which is short for Dr. Molder of Minds. I'm a biomolecular chemist turned metaversity director, but truly at my core, I'm a servant leader. I believe that education should feel like possibility and not pressure. I stepped into the metaverse not because it was trendy, but because I saw students, especially students that look like me, that were neurodivergent, that were brilliant, that were also first generation learners who needed learning spaces big enough to hold their brilliance. Spaces where they could develop their own confidence, where their curiosity could breathe, and where belonging wasn't optional, but it was what it was supposed to be for them. So, over the past few years, I've had the honor of building the world's first higher education metaversity and training thousands of educators in metaversive teaching and learning. My true passion is helping people thrive. Whether you're a teacher, a leader, an entire institution, I want you to help discover your metaverse culture. Something that uniquely blends your innovation, your identity, your mission, as well as your humanity, that helps shape how you show up in these immersive worlds. I'm here because I believe we're designing the future of learning in real time. And if we do it well, if we do it with courage, equity, and imagination, we will leave no mind behind. That is the work that drives me, and I'm honored to share this journey with you today. So, starting from 2 weeks ago, honestly, I was at the HBCU Faculty Development Network Conference in Charlotte, North Carolina, with several of my colleagues from across HBCUs. Now, I felt like I was a student at this particular conference. I went to this conference to see what my colleagues were doing across the HBCU landscape, to learn and to take in and to be a student. And I learned that we are showing up with excellence on every forefront and that everyone is trying to push forward into this landscape of extended reality technologies as well as AI. And having done that at scale, it is important for me to fully show up and be present as a help to those educators. So I learned a lot from being there over the 5 days and spending time in these sessions and in conversations day in and day out with educators, with leaders, with staff members that are over teaching and learning centers or career development centers, and how they are trying to retool our historically Black colleges and universities to be at the forefront of this technology. Then I went to the Global Education Summit, which is the second annual conference at Meta headquarters. Now, I am the first Metaversity director in the world and the first Metaversity that was even sponsored by Meta. We were Morehouse in the Metaverse, however, before Facebook changed their name to Meta and before we caught their attention to want to use Morehouse College as the blueprint for creating the Meta 10 and the Meta 20, and now there are over 200 metaversities worldwide. And I'm very proud of that. I had an opportunity to speak on a panel about the impact that extended reality technologies are having on education. One of the things that we saw at Morehouse College specifically was that our students were less distracted by being in an immersive environment. We were meeting the students where they were. They were more engaged and showed up fully in class, ready to learn. It helped our neurodivergent students be able to show more confidence and more autonomy in their space. We were able to flip the classroom and have students start to become creators and not just consumers of the product, but also develop spaces that they wanted to see. We had conversations about culturally appropriate avatars and had discussions on culturally appropriate spaces and culturally relevant spaces, and how do we tell the stories that we want to see, and how do we show up fully present in this technological space and make sure that we're being represented well. And we also were able to see an actual increase quantitatively in grades. So 11.8% of increase in grades. We saw a 10 percentage point increase in attendance. Students were attending class more because it was more accessible. They were accessing the content differently. And it even led my chemistry students to go back and read their books because after having experienced the molecular world, they wanted a fuller, richer understanding of how to use the jargon and the wording to be able to describe all that they experienced well. And that was really an eye-opening experience for me. So I had the opportunity to sit on the stage and just talk about this in front of educators from all around the world, all different types of institutions, and how impactful Morehouse has been in delivering 50 virtual reality courses across disciplines, humanities, STEM, business, and making sure that students have research experiences in this way, making sure that they're able to use various platforms and that they are technologically adept, learning how to partner with different technology companies and make sure that they understand the needs of our school and our students, and being able to bring this to the forefront and make sure that we are still leading the way and being the blueprint for over 200 metaversities worldwide. That was a real important part of the discussion and a very powerful way for my students and myself and the work that my colleagues and I have done to be seen. Excuse me. And since then, I have I flew back in town and I'm working with STEM NOLA, and they are attending my One Metaversity school on school, www.school.com/one metaversity. That is my school where I train educators, but I also train whoever wants to find out how to be in the metaverse, how to be and use AI efficiently and effectively for small businesses. I am putting out content and courses for you to be able to join and just join the conversation. Even if you are not trying to do the entire asynchronous course, join the community discussion board and have the conversation about these technologies and what AI is doing to power education, what XR is doing to help re-envision and reimagine and transform the way that our students learn, and meeting students where they are. So I did a session on mindfulness, the metaverse, and you with the STEM fellows at STEM NOLA. Shout out to Dr. Calvin Mackey. This is my third out of 4 sessions with these students. We've done it in New Orleans and in Baton Rouge. We've done an accelerated immersive course. And we just want to make sure that our scholars between K-12, 9th through 12th grade, are well versed in these technologies and technologies of extended reality, AR, VR, but also using AI as a way to superpower these environments. And so students are learning, hi Darnus, students are learning how to utilize these technologies in ways to manipulate to play, to have conversations, but they're developing 21st century skills. So I say 21st century skills, but really we're on the cusp of 22nd century skills now, where AI is actually collectively doing a lot of the work for our students and with our students. And so collaboration, creativity, communication, and critical thinking, but also compassion and emotional intelligence and metacognitive strategies, and looking at who you are and being more self-aware and more human is what we're really trying to drive. So I work with those students. Now, fast forward to another partner, KIPP Atlanta Collegiate. So I'm working with Miss Janicia Welch, and we are training educators on helping them develop their own metaverse culture at KIPP Atlanta Collegiate and the KIPP schools. And we have had a wonderful time getting them started with developing their chemistry content and how they want to deliver it to their scholars. So we have had a time of exploration and discovery. And I do train educators because that is my passion. That is who I am. And I want our educators who make everyone everything to be fully present and available to know how to help our students. So I spent the day with them, and that is our second session of learning and creating and developing what they need for defining their own metaverse culture. And then on Tuesday, I had the opportunity to demo what we're doing at Morehouse College at International Games Day with the Atlanta University Center. And so I took about 6 headsets of the MetaQuest 3 headsets, compliments of Meta, thank you, to our Atlanta University Center, where I also was able to sub-award 10 MetaQuest 2 headsets and several MetaQuest 3 headsets over the previous years to help them create their VR gaming lounge. And we were able to set up our table and just show what we are doing at our Metaversity at Morehouse. And students came by between the hours of 3 p.m. to 7 and just experienced what it's like to be in immersive virtual reality on the digital twin campus of Morehouse College, which is powered by our EdTech partners, Victory XR. So shout out to Steve Grubbs and his wonderful team who have been impacting lives with us for over 5 years now. And so they are purposeful partners for us and allowing Morehouse to really, really reach beyond borders. So I'm really excited about the work that we're doing there with them, with Hollow Tutors now, being able to access this content on Chrome browsers, being able to create courses that our students and our teachers want to utilize and leverage. And then the next day, I was also the keynote speaker for International Games Day at the Atlanta University Center Library. Now, I went to Clark Atlanta University. I've taught at Spelman College, which is the all-female HBCU in the Atlanta University Center. I've also been at Morehouse College for 11 years in the chemistry department, in the education department. I've been the department chair. I've been academic program director. I've been senior assistant professor. I've been assistant professor. I've been the director of the Metaversity programs. I have now I'm the director of metaverse programs, and I am just having the time of my life being able to deliver this content and this level of learning and exploration to our students. I am a Unity ambassador. I have been an OpenAI fellow, an alpha tester for OpenAI and the new image generation software that they're using. I have just done so much with Meta and Meta for Education, and published as well with my colleagues about the outcomes and the impact of this technology. And so it was really important for me to speak to our students and let them know that they define the culture. So they definitely should design the future. And so we are building the metaverse table from the Atlanta University Center, which is home for me. I grew up in Decatur, Georgia, and attended Clark Atlanta University as a first generation scholarship recipient, and matriculated on to get my master's and PhD in biomolecular chemistry at Emory University, also in Atlanta, Georgia, the Harvard of the South. and came back into K-12 education at first and taught in DeKalb County school system, which is where I was born and bred and made, and still talk to my second grade teachers and fifth grade teachers to this day. And I just have such a purpose and a passion for this work to be able to do it in my local community, but to also make global impact. So you see someone that is poised and purpose and very proud to do the work that I do. And so it's beyond my wildest dreams and beyond reality that this week has actually happened. And I knew I planned this out this way, but it was just an amazing way to show up fully and happily and joyfully in this space. So I'm really proud of who I am and have been this week for my community, globally, locally, internationally. Like, this is just amazing. So I left from keynoting the International Games Day and headed over to the Buckhead Club to a gala fundraising event with Futureverse. And so Futureverse is reimagining what the city of Atlanta's technological future looks like. And they are fundraising now to create a museum full of the future of technology. And so they are working with Emory University, Morehouse School of Medicine. They're working with University of Georgia, Kennesaw State University, several other partners. I know I'm leaving out several corporate sponsors and so many other people that, excuse me, are all coming together to do this work. And I was proud to take our headsets, demo our environment in front of all of the funders and talk about our EdTech arm, Victory XR, and how we're building the future together. And we're doing it from the Atlanta University Center. And I am training educators on my school platform and just continuing to take this initiative forward, because we really do want to transform lives and we want to transform accessibility and make sure that our students are ready for the future of work. And what that looks like now is being highly adept in these technological tools. And while we have digital natives, they don't know what they don't know about the back end and the way that these tools are used appropriately. So we have to teach them and we have to ethically ground them in the sustainability efforts and new materials that are being used and other skill sets that could just come out of the utilization of this technology. So it's really an honor and a pleasure to show up in these spaces and let people know that this is the future of where we're going in education and how we are already making impact. And this is the worst that it'll ever be, to be honest, in terms of where the technology is. And technology is going to continue to increase, but we need to use it to make us more human, to give us more time, to give us time back, to create more productivity, but to make us be more relational with one another, to have conversations that we should be having instead of taking up time with tedious tasks. We can automate a lot of things, but we need to make sure that we have time to be present. We don't have that much time in this life. So the next day, I had an opportunity to go across the street to Spelman College and their Innovators Playground. Was invited by Marla Bird and the team over at Spelman Innovation Lab to just demo and talk about the work that we're doing at Morehouse and the global impact that we're making, and how I am leveraging all of these technologies to just be able to help educators upskill and become more viable and more valuable in the work that they're doing. This technology is never going to replace the human heart. It is never going to replace it. Human intelligence created artificial intelligence, and I'm a proponent for making sure that we continue to hold these technological companies responsible and accountable for creating better lives for us, and not aligning us to be more machine like. That is not the goal. The goal is to become more human. And so that is my heart's work and my purpose and my mission. Also, after that, I had an opportunity to talk to a school in rural Illinois today, and I'm just finishing up with them just to help them develop and figure out what their vision for their metaverse culture is. And I always tell them that the first step is always about mindset. It's not about the machinery. Institutions often believe that they need big grants or powerful GPUs to get started, but honestly, the real beginning is the conversation. It's cultural. It's the first step in aligning your instructional mission with an immersive vision is sitting down and having the conversation with decision makers across your institution, with faculty, with staff, with students, bringing them into the conversation. When schools articulate why they want to adopt extended reality or even AI, any other emerging technologies, whether that's to close equity gaps or strengthen career pathways or expand student agency, that clarity actually becomes the compass for everything else. I always tell them the next step is to start small, pilot something small, choose one brave teacher, one course, one learning objective. A micro pilot reduces the risk and increases the learning velocity. You don't need a fleet of headsets to start. You can begin with browser-based or mobile-based XR and build early wins. Get the data. The step that I always say is next after you start a small pilot is to build community capacity. You want to establish a metaverse culture team, your early adopters, your tech curious teachers, those who actually care about the future of work. Those are your internal evangelists, and they will move innovation forward sustainably even prior to funding. The metaverse isn't novelty. It's an economic accelerator. There are programs like CTE that are grounded in reality by mapping virtual experiences directly to industry certifications, competencies, and emerging employer needs. Success in the metaverse requires multidimensional measurement, engagement metrics, learning outcomes, well-being indicators, and workforce alignment. But sustainability should track educator readiness as well, maintenance cost, and the ability to iterate the immersive curriculum annually. When feedback loops from students, faculty, and industry align, the metaverse becomes part of the institutional's DNA. You should also have compelling learning outcomes from these metaverse classrooms. One of the most powerful patterns that I've witnessed is the shift in student cognition, primarily in visual spatial intelligence. Students who struggle with abstract concepts suddenly thrive when immersed in 3D environments. My chemistry students manipulating the molecular world, business students designing virtual market simulations, students practicing safety protocols in virtual reality, they actually show stronger retention and deeper comprehension. You also see transformative outcomes in belonging. We've had galas, we've had meditation Mondays, we've had fitness in the metaverse, we've done spoken word events and just had hangouts. And it has shown that building community through avatars and shared spaces allow people to find their voice. So engagement spikes, academic confidence rises, and their sense of agency actually expands. Equity is design, not destiny. Schools can ensure inclusion by offering multimodal access, desktop, mobile, tablet, headset-based engagement, creating sensory-friendly and neurodiverse inclusive environments, by ensuring ADA compliant UI, by providing loaner headsets like we do and rotating them in and out of labs, by using avatars to decrease stereotypical threats, designing shorter experience for students with cognitive load limitations, and then measuring that. So do eye tracking studies on top of what you're doing to measure cognitive load. I lead with the belief that immersive technology should widen the doorway, not narrow it. When designed thoughtfully, the metaverse becomes an equalizer for students who often feel unseen. You should design metaverse experiences that support students' social and emotional learning as well as their confidence. I had a student that gained confidence behind his avatar, and educators can intentionally build these SEL frameworks into immersive experiences by using avatars to reduce performance anxiety, designing collaborative tasks rooted in empathy and communication, embedding reflective prompts before and after each session, is to retry challenges without the fear of public failure, offering agency over identity, environment, and role playing scenarios. Confidence grows when students practice courage in safe, repeatable simulations. The metaverse gives them that protected runway. And then we've moved from the metaversity to AI being co-creators and co-teachers in the classroom, giving our educators capacity beyond measure. And so I always say, let AI be your co-teacher. It could never replace you. You are irreplaceable because educators make everyone everything. But educators also are human beings that need more capacity to be able to give personalized solutions and 24/7 access to content that is high fidelity and high quality. And so AI rigged avatars, AI teaching assistants, textbook assistants, and generative simulations handle tasks like feedback, differentiation, translation, data interpretation. And this gives educators freedom, time to do the highest level work, which is relationship building, coaching, mentoring, creativity, and designing these human-centered learning experiences. You want educators to be architects of experience and not just deliverers of content. You want them to orchestrate personalized learning ecosystems that are supported by AI. You want them to work cross-disciplinaries and not have siloed content that's just sitting there and inaccessible to students and to anyone else. And so the metaverse thrives on interdisciplinary synergy. These aren't separate worlds that we live in. Welding and healthcare, marketing, logistics, cybersecurity, they're all part of these intersections. And so you need to co-design these ecosystems. Use what I call opportunistic reality, or OR, to prepare students for the future of work. Opportunistic reality is the fusion of XR, extended reality, AI, data, and real world education and application. It helps prepare students for futuristic yet employable skills, these 21st century skills that we talk about all the time. Simulating semiconductor fabrication floors, training future nurses with adaptive AI patients, training future educators in spaces where they have neurodivergent students, preparing advanced manufacturing students with robotic digital twins, using AI co-pilots to build business plans and immersive entrepreneurship labs, giving students the opportunity, like we did, to pitch to VCs in the metaverse. Can you imagine running full-scale crisis simulations for public safety students? Students can walk into their careers pre-trained, pre-practiced, and pre-prepared. And then finally, everything starts with the educator. How can you at your institution promote educator well-being? Educators are the crux of how this works. And I want my administrators to remember that innovation and wellness, they're not competing priorities. They're mutually reinforcing. Things like our meditation Mondays, having virtual restorative circles. We've done church in the metaverse. But having these immersive retreats where educators can just decompress and be, regulate their stress, reconnect with their purpose, create communities of practice that come around and center their well-being. allows for high levels of retention, creativity, expansion, the improvement of taking risks in their fields, and benefiting from emotionally regulated adults, because adults are people too. So start with a simple ritual, one weekly immersive wellness experience, and then layer in professional learning communities that nurture this, both pedagogical innovation as well as emotional resilience. It takes a frustration factor to overcome in order to do this work, and healthy educators fuel healthy ecosystems. So that has been the week that I've had, from training STEM fellows to demoing how to do this, training educators at scale, having conversations with educators about how to bring this type of reality to life. And if you want to reach out to me, you want to work with me in any aspect to help train your educators, to help move your institution forward, to help build your business, to develop AI avatars or agents, whatever your need is. I do this work at scale across the globe, and I am available to you. Reach out to me at unitethemetaverse.com. I am very active on LinkedIn, and you can also visit my school at school.com/one metaversity. Again, I am Dr. Messina Morris, and I thank you for taking this Friday to just go beyond ReAIlity with me and help me just recap this wonderful, exciting journey that I'm on in making sure that everyone is seen, heard, and visible, and that I'm doing what is best for students, faculty, staff across the globe to make sure that every ecosystem is understanding how they could show up fully and present using metaversive teaching and learning as a pedagogical strategy to increase opportunistic reality around the world for student success. I'm truly honored to be Dr. Mulder of Minds, Dr. Mom for short, and to be this maven of the metaverse that is doing this work for all of you. So I'm going to keep pressing on and going beyond this universe to do this good work. So again, you can find me at unitethemetaverse.com. Take care. Be well. I mean, yeah.